Hello everybody, today we're going to be going through 20 literacy and numeracy test for initial teacher education students questions from the numeracy practice test. I've already got a video where I've gone through questions 1 to 10, so now we're going to go through 11 all the way up to question 30. So let's get into it. Let's get to our page where we'll start with question 11. I won't really go through the reading of the questions. I will just mainly go through the actual questions about what it's asking. So for the final exam results, we need to look at final. And it's saying was not allowed to use is it higher or not than allowed to use? So there's our not allowed to use for final, and there's allowed. So it's clear that it is true that not allowed is higher. So next question. Now it's asking for the ones that were allowed to use electronic. Was it correct answers higher on the, well, more than double on the unit exam compared to classroom quizzes? So here's classroom quizzes, here's unit exam, and right there is the device not allowed, and this is the device allowed. As we can see, this is about 70 and this is 80 odd. So 80 odd is not double 70 odd, so it was clear that that one is false. And the last one, significant differences in achievement between the two groups were found only on the final exam. Now it actually says what is a significant difference. It says non-overlapping error bars. So an error bar looks like this, and it represents the maximum and minimum possible values. So as we can see, all the final column heights are right in the middle of these error bars. So it gives us the mean, if you will, or the median value. And therefore, when it's saying that there's a significant difference, it means when two error bars have separation between the two of them. As we can see there, if we've got two error bars where there is a little bit of overlap, then they're saying that there's not a significant difference between the two of them. So we can see obviously a very large gap for the final exam. There is a very small gap here in the unit exam, and there's overlap in the classroom quizzes. So it's actually both the unit exam and the final exam where there's significant differences, which means it is false that it is only found in the final exam. So here it's fairly simple. You've just got a formula that you need to follow. Total number of games is number of teams, which is 8. It tells you. Times by number of teams minus 1. Whether you do 8 minus 1 equals 7 and just put a 7 in there, or literally write 8 minus 1. It's the same thing. And you need to divide that by 2. Sorry about my very squiggly line there. And then that can just go in a calculator if you're unsure how to do that. So 8 minus 7, 8 times 7 equals 56, and then divide that by 2 equals 28. So there's our answer, 28. And now the question here is a bit strange. The question here for 13, it actually doesn't have anything to do with maths. It's actually just got to do with looking at the pattern. And the pattern is that all the teams except for team 1, they will change position. So team 1 is in the same spot every time. The other ones go in a clockwise fashion. So as we can see, here's team 2, there's team 2, there's team 2, here's team 3, and afterwards team 3 moves to the right down here. So the pattern is clockwise. They're always going in that direction. Same direction that time goes with a clock. So we just need to see where team 7 will go and where and what that will end up meaning. So team 7 is here, and then it goes here, and then it skips team 1 because team 1 is always in the same spot. So there is where team 7 is, and it's next going to go to game 3. So we need to see who else would be in G3. So because team 7 is going to be at the top, we need to find out who's going to be at the bottom. So who goes clockwise in this direction to get to that spot? It is team 3. Team 3 will head there next. So that is who it is, team 3. Okay, this one appears a little bit more complicated than what it is, but I'm just going to go through the little examples that it gives. So infectious disease, reproduction rate of 20%, and it gives you example. Actually, I'll skip over to this next part. Over here is where I'll start reading. However, a vaccination rate of 50%, where 50% of the 10 people are vaccinated against the disease and only one person, 20% of 5 people, is likely to be infected. So what it's saying, if you've got 10 people and 50% of them are vaccinated, that means that 5 are covered, which means they cannot get the disease at all. But there are 5 that remain with a possibility of being able to get the disease. But then it is saying that only one person is likely to get it, which means it's 20%. 1 out of 5 is 20%. And it's also 0.2 as a fraction, as a decimal, sorry, which can just be confirmed when you put that into your calculator. So 1 divided by 5, there's your decimal, 0.2, and if you multiply that by 100, that of course turns your decimal into a percentage. So for the actual proper question, it's saying highly infectious disease has a reproduction rate of 60%. Okay, so we need to remember that 60%. If the vaccination rate is 95%, how many people in a population of 1,000 are likely to be infected? So it is saying that out of that 1,000, there's 600 that could end up getting the disease, because that's what 60% of 1,000 is. 60%, remember, just have to divide by 100, so it should be 0.6. So 600 out of 1,000. Actually, sorry, I'll just put in 0.60 times 1,000. So there's our 600 people, our 60%. 600 people. And it says if the vaccination rate is 95%, so how many of those are going to be infected? Because remember, if you're vaccinated, it means you can't be affected by this. So we have to just do 95% of this number, which will tell us how many will not be infected, and then the remainder will be the answer. Another way of looking at it is just look at if 95% are vaccinated, how many are not vaccinated? That will be 5%, which means we just need to do 5% of our 600. And to do that, remember how to convert from a percentage to a decimal. You divide by 100. So what we'll do 5 divided by 100. There you go, 0.005 or 0.05. And then we multiply that by our 600. So this is how many will be infected. This is the 5%, and it's the 95%, which is the rest of that 600, who are not going to be infected. So the answer is 30. Over here, use the information per serve. What percentage of the total fat is saturated fat? So there is our per serve, and there is 0.03 compared to 0.3. You can just put that on your calculator. 1 divided by the other, times by 100 to go from the decimal to the percentage. So 0.03 divided by 0.3 times by 100. 10%. And it makes sense if you multiply any number by 10. So here's our 0.03. If you multiply it by 10, the decimal goes across 1, which will end up changing it to 0.3, which is exactly what we've got up there. So 10% is our answer. And for question 16, the amount of sodium in 2 serves of the pasta exceeds the maximum daily adequate intake. So our daily adequate intake, they've given us a range. They've given us from 460 to 920, and we're going to move that from, we're going to have a look to see how that compares with the sodium in 2 serves. So that's how much in 1 serve, 668. So if we multiply that by 2, will it be greater than 920? You can get your calculator to tell you. 668 times 2, is it more than 920, which is the maximum amount? It sure is. So we say that is true. Now the maximum NHMRC daily adequate intake of sodium is less than 1 gram. So we've got 660 milligrams. Hopefully we know that milli is in relation to 1,000, just like there's 1,000 millimeters in a meter. So 668 milligrams is actually equal to 0.668 grams. So is it less than 1 gram? It absolutely is. Okay, this is just asking which class has the greatest increase from pre-test to post-test score. So make sure you look at the legend of what is pre-test and what is post-test. So not everyone did better. For example, this bottom one, the post-test score is actually worse than the pre-test score. So which one had the greatest increase? It absolutely can't be E, but it can be any of the rest, whichever one of these bars is biggest, widest, shows the biggest difference between pre and post. The biggest one is D. But we can all see that. If you're unsure of which one's biggest, just by looking at it with your eyes, just come up with a rough number. So that's like about 35. 35. This one here is about 53. So I'll call that one 18. Which is 53 minus 35. Put that in your calculator if unsure. And then up here, I'd say this is only about, just need to do my handwriting, it's about 62. And this is 45. Maybe this could even be 61. It's a little bit smaller. That ends up being 16. So it's close, but it is a little bit smaller. So D is the answer. And how many classes showed increases of more than 10? A very easy way to check this is that 10 is actually the width of one of these columns. So one of these columns here, that's 10. So how many of them went more than 1? So definitely D has gone more than 1 column. So I'll circle that one. By the way, we'll ignore this one. That's the one that's gone the wrong way around. This one, this has gone about from 55 to nearly 70. So yes, that one as well. This one, as we can see, is less than 1 column. So we'll cross that out. And this one's clearly more than 1 column. So 1, 2, 3. Sorry about my very messy work, but hopefully that makes it clear. Hopefully it is clear enough to see. 3 classes. NAPLAN results. The differences between the total percentage of students at the selected school who are in bands 5 or 6 and the total percentage of students at schools with similar students who are in bands 5 or 6 is more than 10%. So we're looking at how many are in 5 and 6, so those two numbers there, compared to these two numbers here, the selected school compared to the schools with similar students. We can just add those two numbers up. We can use our calculator for that. 32 and 39. 32 plus 39. So 71 is what we get for the selected school. So I'll write 71 down here. And then the other numbers we need are 36 and 28. 36 plus 28, 64. That's for schools with similar students. Okay, so it's saying, is it more than 10%? 71 to 64, the difference is not more than 10%. It's only 7. So we'll call that false. Now it says more than 1/3 of the Year 3 students in schools with similar students have reading scores in Band 4 or below. So we need to go to the similar, which is this color here, and Band 4 and below. So we need to add these 4 numbers together, and it needs to be, we need to see if it's more than 1/3. Now if you don't know what a third is as a percentage, we know that percent means per 100. So we can just do 100 divided by 3, and that's a third. Okay? There's 3 equal parts of 100. It's 33.333 recurring. Each 33.33 is 1/3 of 100. So if we add all these numbers up, do they add up to be more than 33 or not? So we've got 19, 10, 5, and 2. Let's add them up. 19 plus 10 plus 5 plus, we don't even need to keep going. It's already gone more than 33. So is it more than a third? Well, 36 is more than 33. So yes, that is true. All right, casual teachers pay $60.78 an hour. Not bad money if you can get it. Now, a teacher begins a casual relief position at 8:45 and finishes at 12:15. How much will they be paid? So the way I always do with time is I try to add as many hours as I need to without going past the hour that we need, like without going over. If I add 4 hours, they'll go 12:45. So that's too far. So let's only add 3 hours. So I've got to add 3 hours to my 8:45, which will give me 3 hours, which will give me 11:45. And then how many minutes to go from 11:45 to 12:15? That is half an hour. Because you need to add 15 minutes to get to 12, and another 15 minutes to get to 12:15. So that's 3 hours and 30 minutes, which we will call 3.5 hours. So we need to multiply our 3.5 hours by the hourly rate. And we'll get our trusty calculator to do that. 60.78 times 3.5. 212.73 is our answer. 212.73. Okay, at preschool there's 2 educators and 22 students, and you need an adult for every 3 students. So it's 1 to 3 is the ratio. That's how we do a ratio. 1:3 is what we need. So at the moment we've got 2 to 22, but we need to know what's the smallest number of additional adults that are required for the excursion. So we need to make sure that the number of children compared to educators, that it's no more than 3 times as many children as what there is educators. So if you do 22 divided by 3, that gives you 7 and a bit. So you need 7 and a bit educators. You can't have a piece of an educator, you need whole educators. So that means that we will need 8 educators in total to go with the 22 children to make sure that it's at no more than 3 children for every 1 educator, because 3 times 8 is 24. So we've got extra educator than what we absolutely would need. We could actually look after 2 more children. Now it says, what is the smallest number of additional adults that are required for this excursion? Well, we need 8 in total. We have 2. So how many do you add to 2 to get to 8? That answer is 6. Now, if we look at the next question, bit of an interesting question this one. table shows all sorts of different information, but we need to actually ignore a lot of it. Population of Queensland is 5 million people. What is the average number of people represented by each member of the House of Representatives? Well, here's the House of Representatives for Queensland, so that's all we've got to look at. So 30 representatives, 5 million people, so just 5 million divided by 30. There's 5,000, and million is 1,000 thousands. Divide that by 30. 166,666, but it says go to the nearest thousand. And as we can see, because it's more than 0.5, that means we have to round up. So 166,000 goes up to 167,000. Okay, question 23. A teacher purchases a bulk pack of 12 2-litre bottles of paint. They normally sell for $210, but the teacher receives a 5% discount on the pack. So, 5% discount that means that you pay 95% is what you actually pay. So let's write that in, pay. So we know that to go from percentage to decimal, we need to divide by 100. So 95 divided by 100. 95 divided by 100, and it tells us it's 0.95, so we can put that in, 0.95, and we know that because if you have 95, which normally looks like this, and you divide by 100, that means that you're moving the decimal place across for every number of zeros that there is. There's 2 zeros, so it jumps across twice. 1, 2. That's where our new decimal place will be, 0.95. So, now that we've got our decimal, that needs to multiply by that $210 to show that that's what we're paying. We're paying 95% of that $210. So 0.95 multiplied by 210. Our trusty calculator will work that out for us. We've already got our 0.95 in there. We'll multiply that by 210, $199.50. $199.50. But then we've also paid 3 extra bottles of $17.95 each. So we just need to add 3 lots of $17.95. So I press, oops, let's go, we'll just start that again, $199.50. And now I'm going to add $17.95. Now as soon as I press equals, it will add 1 to it, as in 1 bottle of $17.95. Now I'll go 2, now I'll go 3. That's my answer. 253, I believe it said 35. It sure did. Okay, now we're looking at the questions. The student with the highest score was enrolled at school B. True, false, or not possible to determine. Now it says there's a number of students enrolled. Median score, which is just the middle score, and middle in placement, not in if you order them from biggest to smallest, it doesn't mean average, and percentages of 40 of scores of 40 and over. It doesn't actually say anything about what the absolute highest score was. So it could have been figured out if the median scores were, oh actually no, it couldn't be figured out with median scores. You need to know maximums. So you don't know maximums, you can't figure this one out. It doesn't have enough information. So we have to put across there. Now the number of students at school A with scores of 40 and over is 2 times the number of students at school C with scores of 40 and over. Now, importantly, we've got given percentage, but percentage doesn't tell us numbers, but a percentage of a number will give us the proper numbers. So first up, we're comparing A with C. So we've got 20, which as we know, we move the decimal place over twice, goes 0.2. We're going to multiply that by 85. And this is for school A. So 0.2 times 85, 0.2 times 85 equals 17. Now for school C, we've got a percentage of 10, as we can see here, and we move the decimal place across 2, so it's 0.1, and we multiply that by 212. That's how many students they have. So 10% of their 212 students got a score of 40 and over. Then we just need to put it in 0.1 times 212. It's about 21 students. So the correct answer is actually school C. Even though the percentage is lower, the percentage is half as much. 10 is half of what 20 is. But as you can see, they've got way more students than what they do in school A. 212 compared to 85 is more than double. So this means that the answer is number of students at school A. It says asking the number of students at school A with scores of 40 and over is 2 times the number at school C. Well, no, that is false. They have double the percentage. They don't have double the number of students. Okay. This diagram shows 2 views of the frame of a square garden bed. The cost of each plank is $15. What is the total cost of the planks needed to make the frame? So it says each plank is $15. So we've got one there, one there, one there, one there. That's 4. But there's 2 levels. They're stacked too high. So we've actually got 2 on each of those 4 sides, which is 8. So 8 times 15, I know it's 120, but you can always use the calculator to tell you. 8 times 15 is 120. Now it says the dimensions of each plank are the following. The dimensions of each plank are length 2.4, width 0.2, thickness 0.05. Which of these is closest to the volume of the soil needed to frame the garden bed? Now, I find this to be a bit of a peculiar question because it doesn't actually mention height, and it can be a little bit tricky to actually understand what it's actually meaning. So I believe that in effect width is the height, and the reason being is because if a plank looks like this, and so this is from bird's eye view, this is the length, and they are calling this the width because for a 2D shape it's length times width, and it has to be wider like this than it would be depth wise. So it's only saying that it's 5 centimeters depth wise. It's not very thick. If it was 20 centimeters thick, just like it's saying about the width, then it'd form a much stranger shape. So this is where it gets a little bit funny. So that there is 2.4. It's the same. Well, it's not quite 2.4. It's 2.4 from here to here, but that's not what we need because we need to actually subtract one lot of width. So it actually needs to be 2.4 minus 0.2, which means for our square it's actually going to be 2.2 on each side. And unsurprisingly, if you put in 2.2 times 2.2, you get 4.84. Interesting. So it is closer to 4, but I'm going to review this question because I believe that they gave a different answer. Because I wonder if we need to take something else into account. But we'll just leave that for the time being. I'll do another video to further review this one, because this is probably the hardest question I've come across. Anyways, 27. So on the day of the forecast, the chance of rain in Smithtown is less than the chance of no rain in Smithtown. So it's saying that there's a 10% chance of rain. So that's less than 50%. That's an important thing. So what is saying that there's 10% chance of rain? That means the rest of it has to be chance of no rain. So I'll put an N for no. So clearly the chance of rain is much less than the chance of no rain. Now, if 3 millimeters of rain falls in Smithtown on the day of the forecast, then the forecast was inaccurate. That is false, because it's predicting that there's a possibility of 2 to 5 mils. So 2 to 5 millimeters. It's saying that there's a 10% chance of 2 to 5 and a 90% chance of nothing. So 3 millimeters is within the range of 2 to 5. So to say it's false, to say that it's inaccurate, is wrong. Question 28. For pasta meals, use 120 grams dried pasta per person. There's 22 adults and 22 students and 3 adults. How much pasta will we need? Well, 22 plus 3 is 25. So it's 25 lots of 120. So just do that. But because it's asking for it in kilograms, I'll put my grams answer into kilograms. And because 1,000 grams make a kilogram, we need to divide by 1,000 first. So 1,020 grams to convert into kilograms. There we go. 0.12. And then we just need to times that by the amount of people we have. 3 kilograms. If we didn't convert, it's still the same thing. You can have 120 grams, multiply that by 25 people, that's 3,000 grams. We obviously need to convert for our answer, but it doesn't matter whether you do it at the start or at the end. 3,000 grams is of course 3 kilograms. You find that out by dividing by 1,000. There we go. Okay, now test mean. A teacher gives the same test to 2 different classes and summarizes the test scores in a table. What is the range of the scores if the scores from both classes are combined? So range is here. That is just saying what's the difference between the minimum and the maximum. So 19 minus 4 equals 5. 18 minus 11 equals 7. So if we combine the two, that means we're going to have a maximum of 19, because that's the biggest number out of both of them. The smallest number out of both of them is 11. So if you do from 11 to 19, what is the range? 19 minus 11 equals 8. And that's what the range is. Okay, last questions. Question 30. National minimum standard for year 3 is band 2. That's the minimum standard, light blue coloured. That's saying for year 3, the minimum for the blue for year 3 is band 2. Correct. There are 2 bands that are common to the 4 year levels. So they're saying that there's 2 bands, so here are our bands, that are common to all 4 year levels. So these 2 are not in every year level. These 2 are not in every year level. We need to find a band that is in all of them. So as we can see, there's a band that's in all of them. There is a band that's in all of them. Not that one, not that one. So yes, there are 2 bands, band 5 and band 6. Now from each year level to the next year level, only 1 new band is reported and only 1 previous band is not reported. Well, let's test it out. I know what the answer is, so I'm going to go a bit backwards. I'm going to go from year 9 down. So from year 9 to 7, there's no band 10, and there's no band 4. So yes, that's going 1. Same here. No band 3, no band 9, from year 7 down to year 5. So they're right again. There's only 1 that they miss out from the top and from the bottom. But then from year 5 to year 3, there's no band 8 and 7, and there's also no band 1 and 2. So to say that there's only 1 new band every time, it's correct from year 5 to 7 to 9, but between year 3 and 5, that is not the case. There are 2 bands here and 2 bands there. So that one is false. Hope that video is helpful. I'll go through the garden bed question in another video because I believe that one's worded a little bit strangely and I need to be a little bit clearer on it. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments below.